Thank you for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from my headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. My name is Babla Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, a municipal authority accuses the Yaoundé administration of hijacking the decentralization process. The mayor of Lum in the Mongo Division, littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, attributes the bad state of roads in his municipality and other problems to what he qualifies as government's hijacking of the decentralization process. We shall bring to you details in this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. We will also talk about the situation in Tigray region in Ethiopia. The Prime Minister of that country has announced a final phase of the military's operation to restore peace and normalcy after the 72-hour deadline which he gave to fighters in Tigray region elapsed. Once more, thank you for joining us on this edition of the news. The population of Lum in the Mongo Division, littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, are saying that they are tired of riding on broken, cratered and rocked roads within their municipality, and the municipal authorities are attributing the problem of bad roads and other problems in the municipality to what is qualified as government's hijacking of the decentralization process. This is what the mayor of Lum highlights as the major cause of the underdevelopment challenges affecting his municipality. Details with Innocent.
A one-star stretch of roads in Lum in the Mongo Division of the littoral region, linking other localities and the cosmopolitan Douala city, goes rugged in the so-called decentralization age, with run-off patterns partitioning it. Other road stretches are not only rugged but also cratered. These roads in Équinoxe Wambo's municipality, if they had mouths, would have been heard crying and begging for rehabilitation. Road users have no choice than battling with the nice-looking roads in President Paul Biya's country. The situation is worst in the rainy season. Stagnant water in the craters in the middle of our roads prevent children from schooling flexibly. Children can fall in the potholes and incur a fracture. It is embarrassing, even if the mayor does not have the right to carry out construction or rehabilitation on the main roads. He can at least ensure they are filled with laterite or gravel. Soon you will see them out collecting tax from us.
Nous, on est vraiment mal à l'aise pour l'état de la route là-bas.
We are speechless. The roads are horrible and strenuous.
C'est de Carrefour Bonquin sous Mangué. Réellement, ces routes-là sont avancées dans le dégradement.
According to Mayor Équinoxe Wambo, lack of effective decentralization has kept his hands chained.
Les mairies ne sont pas capacitées pour faire face à ces différents besoins.
We insist today that decentralization be effective.
Il faut que la décentralisation soit effective. On ne peut pas transférer les compétences sans moyens.
Our wish is that the state should empower us so we can handle such projects for communal development.
L'État nous capacite pour faire face à ces besoins.
Without the empowerment and financial means, we cannot perform any miracle.
Comment est-ce que vous faites? Vous ne pouvez pas faire les miracles.
The mayor, as well as the population, keep their hands crossed while awaiting government to ensure effective decentralization for these roads to be given befitting looks.
The 2021 state budget in Cameroon projected at 4,865.2 billion francs CFA is said to have been guided by government's orientations in the priority sectors, and the sectors include security, infrastructure, health, and economic growth. For me, I'm Strong Sandafars in details.
The projected 4,865.2 billion francs CFA for the 2021 finance year in Cameroon will be directed or largely spent in the following sectors, considering the orientation of government actions, which seek to complete the implementation of major infrastructural projects. The government in 2021, according to the plan, will pursue the 3-year emergency plan to accelerate economic growth and the special youth 3-year plan project. The proposed budget also takes into consideration the completion of projects and facilities required for the organization of the African Cup of Nations 2022, the African Nations Championship, CHAN 2021. The projected amount also takes into consideration continued security monitoring and the implementation of the COVID-19 response plan. Still in health, focus is previewed in the implementation of the universal health coverage system. In governance, the finance bill for 2021 is oriented towards fast-tracking the decentralization process in Cameroon. The 2021 finance bill, prepared in accordance with the principles of Law number 2018/12 of the 11th of July 2020, also takes into consideration the guidelines contained in the July 10, 2020 circular of the President of the Republic to lay down major fiscal policy orientations for the 2021 fiscal year. Another peculiarity is that the bill has been prepared within a context marked by a COVID-19-ridden economy whose growth is expected to experience a sharp decline. The projected amount, however, comes with an increase of 232.5 billion francs CFA in absolute terms from 2020.
Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote's announcement of the creation of 500,000 jobs in the Cameroon in the next financial year is provoking convergent and divergent reactions from Cameroonians, especially young people. It should be noted that the rate of unemployment and underemployment has been on the rise among young people, in particular in the Republic of Cameroon. While many of them are optimistic about this announcement by the Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote, others are very pessimistic and questioning the simply indicating that what the government is announcing may not happen, because such announcements have been coming up again and again, and we'll be coming back to that report in a short while. Time for us to hit the Douala-N'Djamena highway to talk about the challenges faced by transporters on that road, and they are complaining and calling on government to help them, because the challenges are in such a way as to hinder them from carrying on with their activities within the ambits of laws, rules and regulations governing the transport sector. Details with Charles Sekome.
Fleets of trucks on the Douala-N'Djamena, Douala-Bangui transnational highway. They are all in a bad technical state, and the owners complain that they are unable to repair the damaged parts because of financial constraints. You cannot go to the manufacturer to get new parts for the trucks. You cannot go to the banks in quest for loans to buy new parts for the trucks. You won't be able to pay for these parts because they are extremely costly, unlike before. There is no transporter in Douala, Central African Republic, and even Chad who can renovate and maintain its parking with the amount of money being paid to transporters. A meeting is organized to look into the problem. In the course of the meeting, the transporters, trade unionists and other stakeholders urge the governments of Cameroon, Chad, and Central African Republic to regulate and enforce acceptable tariff rates that will boost their income so they can render quality services.
We have implored and will continue begging our government officials to accompany us. They need to understand that transport is a pillar to the economy. Like they say in marketing, there are 3 levels to quality services. If you pay for the highest quality, you get the best services.
The transporters, trade unionists, and other stakeholders from the Central African Republic, Chad, and Cameroon agreed on 3,350,000 francs for transportation of goods per trip to Bangui and 3,300,000 francs for N'Djamena. Meantime, they remain determined to stop all activities and park their trucks by 1st January 2021 if the government authorities of these countries fail to enforce their aforementioned tariffs and provide solutions to other problems affecting their activities.
Coming up, Immaculate Fogwe puts together reactions of some young people, reactions to Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangute's announcement of the creation of 5,000 new jobs in the Republic of Cameroon. Some are pessimistic, while others are, however, optimistic about that announcement and the fulfillment of that promise by the government. Immaculate Fogwe.
Cameroon's Prime Minister, Chief Joseph Jangute, on the 25th of November, during his presentation of the 2021 Government Plan of Action to the National Assembly, announced government's plan to create 500,000 jobs in 2021. He says the decision is meant to solve the problem of unemployment in the country. The government plans to increase new training centers while making efforts to support market entities. The announcement is coming a year after the head of state, Paul Biya, during his traditional message to youths on the occasion of the 53rd National Youth Day, promised creating no less than 500,000 jobs in 2019. Speaking to some youths in the economic capital, Douala, many of them described the promises made as fake.
I am Boka Adonis, a student at the University of Douala and equally a digital entrepreneur. I heard the Prime Minister's announcement that 500,000 jobs will be created. It is a good idea, however, hard to believe. Plans to create jobs had been announced many times, but millions of youths are still jobless in Cameroon. If the government is serious about the decision, they should invest in the private sector. I am called Lazare Nsangnou. I heard about the minister's decision concerning the creation of 500,000 jobs, but it doesn't look real. A year ago, the president promised that 25,000 jobs will be created in 2019. I don't even know how many people benefited from that job offer. Now they are talking about 500,000 jobs.
We sought to know from these youths what could be done in order to reduce high unemployment rate in Cameroon.
One of the major causes of unemployment is that the government encourages a lot of people who refuse to go on retirement. There are a lot of persons in office who are already old and have been working since Ahijo's reign. There are capable youths, but many of them don't have jobs. How I wish the promise could be true.
While some youths describe government's promises as fake, other youths who were recently recruited applaud government's efforts.
Lawyers in Cameroon lament over what is qualified as a huge loss for the Cameroon bar and the judicial family as a whole in the Republic of Cameroon. The death of former Bar Council President Chakunte Patier and some of the lawyers were speaking to us during a funeral service at his residence in Konsamba in the Mongo Division, littoral region of Cameroon. Details in this report by Smanjik and Gabriel.
Dressed in their black robes, there were many in number who showed up at the residence of their late bar president in Konsamba, Mongo Division, to bid him farewell in a funeral service. Without the corpse of late bar president Barrister Patier Chakunte, it was an occasion for the lawyers to recall the memorable moment they had with the late bar president. He was always there for his colleagues in times of trouble and in times of happiness. He called me by my surname. That is just how close he was to us. It's very difficult for you to hear him call you by your title. He was a humble man. The departure of late bar president is coming at a time lawyers are going through difficult moments in the country, and he is remembered for always being there for them in times of trouble. He was an exceptional man in humility. He knew how to fight for his colleagues and family members. He mastered the office he was voted into and was open to everyone.
Au service du prochain, au service du confrère, au service de la justice. Écoutez, la douleur, elle est vive, elle est immense. La compunction, elle est indescriptible.
When an institution like this loses a leader, we are like an orphan without a guide. Today, we are honoring him because we miss him and he has left a vacuum that will be difficult to fill. We hope that the order he had brought into the Bar Council will be maintained when a new person is elected.
Plus d'un titre. Il a laissé un héritage très lourd au sein du barreau du Cameroun. Nous pensons et souhaitons que dès après lui, l'ordre qu'il a mis va continuer à régner au sein de notre barreau.
Initially fixed from the 26th to the 28th of November 2020, late bar president Barrister Patier Chakunte's burial has been postponed until further notice.
Talking Point is up next. Looking into the future on how we can come out of this, notably in a peaceful manner. Today, we are receiving Jean Denis Tabe. He is the national president of the Popular Action Party. Thank you, Mr. President, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and express my own point of view, and my sincere greetings to all viewers of Equinoxe and Cameroonians of good faith.
4 years have elapsed since the troubles in the northwest and southwest regions began escalating early 2017, or better still late 2016. When you look at what's been happening for the past 4 years with the recent incidents, what's your analysis of the situation and the evolution of the conflict?
Thank you very much, Mr. Babila. I am as very disappointed as you are. I am also very shocked that it has been 4 years that this crisis has degenerated to where we are today. It is very, very saddened and very, very unfortunate that at this juncture we are still talking of the Anglophone crisis. I felt that a simple crisis as the one that we are experiencing, a political crisis, a crisis that concerns Cameroonians, a crisis that concerns everyone, all the stakeholders, everyone that needs to sit and see how we could talk, a domestic crisis at that, and we are still talking of such a crisis right at this juncture that we find ourselves today. It is a question that I myself, it's unfortunate I can't ask you, but I think I can maybe give my own little conception about the whole scenario as far as this crisis is concerned. I don't think we should be talking about 4 years today. The Anglophone crisis did not start 4 years ago. It is a crisis that emanated from an assimilation scheme.
It's about the Anglophone problem.
Yeah, the Anglophone problem, yeah. It degenerated to a crisis because Mr. Biya wanted it to be a crisis, but it is an Anglophone problem that the Anglophones earlier manifested their intentions and discovered that the assimilation scheme put in place by the regime to assimilate the Anglophones, they saw it that that was not the best option, and they manifested their discontent and they demonstrated it on several outings and several manifestations. But unfortunately, the regime in Yaoundé decided to be repressive. They have been repressive for the past 54 years, and it's quite unfortunate that in 2016 it degenerated through the teachers and lawyers, and today we are in a scenario where it has now become an armed conflict. So the question is, why are we here today? What has pushed us to be where we are today? The answer is simple. It is because the regime of Mr. Biya is not willing to solve the crisis. I think both the national and the international community has given their utmost best as far as proposals are concerned to resolve this crisis, including the PAP. Me sitting here, even my predecessor, Justice Aya Paul, we all saw this coming and we gave in our proposals, but the Biya regime decided to take a different option of what they felt, maybe the military option, to crack down on an ideology, of which we are telling the Biya regime that you can never crack down on an ideology. The Anglophone crisis is today 4 years. If it is not resolved today, I bet you that even no matter the number of cosmetic solutions put in place to resolve this crisis, it will go a long way to only prolong this crisis, because we need the root cause. The root cause needs to be discussed, and the root cause is for us. I am a federalist. We need to go back to the 1961 Federation and the Constitution and see the root cause, because the Biya regime, beginning from Aijo right to Biya, breached the contract, breached the accord that we went into in 1961 as far as the federal system is concerned. Until we revisit that, every other thing or whatever they are thinking that they think is a solution to this crisis will only be cosmetic, because it will go a long way to be prolonged.
We'll certainly come back to how to get out of the current situation in some few seconds, but in order to be able to get the right solutions, we must be able to get a right picture of the situation on the ground. The right picture of the situation on the ground. We have the recent incidents in Kumba where 7 students were killed or others wounded. In Limbe, students stripped naked and flogged by armed men. Students kidnapped in Kumbu, teachers kidnapped, killings going on, and so on. Is there an indication that we are gradually moving towards peace, normalcy in those two regions?
Well, as you can see, I am also an observant. I have been following most of those activities on the social media. I have also been following on the normal media like the Equinoxe and other related media portraying some of those activities. All those what you say are as a result of a consequence. They are like a consequence of a cause. If we have aspects of kidnapping, which did not start today, it started some time back maybe 3 years when the crisis started. We have aspects of kidnapping. We have had aspects of torture. We have had aspects of killings. And I will bet with you that I will not be here to independently tell you that who is responsible for whosoever such atrocities have been linked to. We only hear today, we hear the separatists condemn. The government accuse the separatists. The separatists also accuse the government. So it will be biased or unjust for me to tell you today who is responsible for what, because as the Popular Action Party is concerned, we have always requested for an independent investigation to be meted so that we can really see those responsible, and everybody who is responsible for such actions should be brought to justice. So as the PAP is concerned, we condemn in strongest terms such a barbaric act meted on innocent civilians, and we are praying that when such an investigation is carried out and those perpetrators be brought to justice, I think that's where I can really tell you what is really going on in the terrain. But as I can say, that goes a long way to really expose the regime of Mr. Biya, because it is an indication that whenever you interview some of the regime barons, they will tell you that everything has returned to normalcy. It is also that the situation is under control. Everything is under control, but I am also as embarrassed as any other Cameroonian that the noise and the trumpets that have been blowing that everything is under control, but on daily basis we see atrocities being perpetrated on innocent civilians. And I ask myself, if everything is under control, then who are those? If the government says they have been able to master and neutralize everything under their control, and actions or atrocities are still ongoing, it means that the government is in the best position to come and tell you who is responsible, because they have made the Cameroonians to believe that everything is under control and schools can go on with no problem. People can carry on with their activities, but we hear of kidnappings. We hear of the kidnapping of the phone of Saul, the children, as you earlier mentioned, and it is the government who is responsible to come and tell Cameroonians that if you have assured Cameroonians that everything is under control and there has been a consistent atrocity, kidnapping or whatever has been ongoing in the English-speaking region, it means that either the government is unable to guarantee the security of the citizens, or the government might be in the best position to tell us who are those committing such acts. Because if you guarantee people that we be able to mastermind or neutralize every action and we can go on with our activities, and at the same time the same problems still occurring under such assurances, then whosoever gave such assurances should be the one to be responsible, or should be the one to give answers to Cameroonians what is going on. So as far as I'm concerned, I think the government should be the one to tell us if truly everything is under control, because all of us are still crossing our fingers and monitoring.
Now, at this point in time, there are calls rising from almost everywhere, from everybody. Enough is enough. We need to come to an end. We need to put an end to the bloodshed, the killings, the destruction, and everything that is going on. The traditional rulers in the West region, those in the Northwest, Southwest regions, the mothers of funds, women in general, and just everybody saying we need to put an end to this. And for us to talk about how to get out of this, I'm going to read to you an extract of a news article on the Recorder Newsline written by Chris Ambe, a journalist with over 20 years of experience, and it is a statement made by Dr. Namanga Ngongi, who is the former Under-Secretary General and Special Representative of the United Nations to the Democratic Republic of Congo and head of the Peacekeeping Mission. And the statement says, now that a bloody war is raging with gruesome consequences, urgent action needs to be taken to silence the guns so as to create an environment conducive for discussion or for discussions to take place, and there is an urgent need for a ceasefire. This is not a time for blame game, but a time to rise above poverty or party politics, tribalism, Anglophone, Francophone, and other prejudices. It is time to silence the guns and give peace a chance. He says that it's time to put an end to the blame game and look for a peaceful way out of the crisis. What do you think about that?
Mr. Babila, I want to be sincere with you. I think those of us who are of the opposition, stakeholders, civil society actors, we have given solutions to the regime. Our solutions to the regime did not date just yesterday. From the inception of this crisis, we already saw the impact. I am not here to be talking about the consequences. Or what is the what we are talking here, kidnapping or whatever, is the consequences. We earlier proposed this is a political crisis. Mr. Biya acknowledged this crisis in Paris, in France. He said it was an assimilation scheme that was carefully put in place to assimilate the English-speaking region. I am not the one saying it.
That was an interpretation.
That is not an interpretation. Assimilation means we want to swallow up the system of the English-speaking zones to see how they could fit with our system. But that's not where I am today. You just made mention of let us keep guns, let us sit down and talk about dialogue. Who is against dialogue? I think the regime knows what has to be done, but they decide to choose the other means. They decide to choose what they feel fits their ideology, not what they think is of the opinion of the English-speaking zones. Because before this, when this crisis started, I know of so many commissions that have gone down to the terrain, meet with the population, and they get the solution that the only solution is this: we'll have to go back to the drawing board and see how we could talk about the federal structure. The party that has always been very hypocritical as far as resolving this crisis is concerned is the government. Mr. Babila,
for anything to take place, for any concrete thing to take place, the guns have to go down.
The guns,
there should be some sort of a ceasefire, according to Dr. Namanga Ngongi, and that is why he talks about the blame game. The political parties should stop blaming the President of the Republic, should stop blaming the CPDM, should stop blaming the Prime Minister, and so on, and look for a peaceful solution.
Mr. Babila,
in your opinion, where is that peaceful solution?
Mr. Babila, political parties have never blamed the regime. Political parties have rather given proposals to the government on what has to be done. On the contrary, the government sees proposals as a means of contradiction. That's why you find today, where you have of the opposition, a hardened opposition leader, you see consistent repression. You can see, look at members of the CRM today. Can you tell me why they are being locked up? 6 months, Professor Kamto is there being blocked up. What is his fault? Because he says, I will not go in for elections until the Anglophone crisis is being resolved. So I want to believe that the party that is totally against a peaceful resolution for this crisis to be resolved is at the level of the government. Because when you talk about guns, who are those who took up guns? From the onset of the crisis, it was a peaceful march, as I can know. Let me tell you something about Mr. Babila. Even as I speak to you now, that there has been some level of relative peace in some restive regions in the northwest and in the southwest. I traveled to Bamenda, in one area in a subdivision called Tuba. The mayor of Tuba, if I tell you the manner in which that mayor, the CPDM mayor, harassed the population. I'm trying to tell you that
no accusations, please. He's not here to respond to that accusation.
I am saying that we are talking about restive peace, and he's not the only one. I'm telling that we have CPDM administrators who, to them, maybe the return of peace is an obstacle to their agenda. Because I will not reason why a mayor who knows the difficulties under which the population of that zone has gone through will keep on harassing the population and making the population to undergo a lot of psychological torture, and not even taking into consideration that that's already a war zone. I believe that they will have taken measures to see how they could resolve and bring the population close and see how they could educate them on how peace could return. So I want to believe that the peace or the resolution for guns for a ceasefire to be put in place, for guns, for all the parties to drop in their guns. I think I am also of the opinion that there should be a ceasefire. Who is to declare a ceasefire? It is the person that declared the war. And the separatists did not declare war. There's somebody that declared a war against the separatists or against Cameroonians. So he is the one who is in the better position to say, all right, I declare a war, and let us come to the table and let us dialogue. And that is why we of the PAP, we are requesting for another sincere dialogue, a general amnesty for those who are in the diaspora and whosoever that has been involved in whatever, be it a level of the government or a level of the separatists. Let us sit, because if a military dies or a war called Ambazonia or separatist is killed, Cameroonians are the ones losing. So why would Cameroonians be killing each other just because an individual somewhere wants to satisfy his or her ego in the name of... I'm going to tell you that we are to protect the state, but the regime of Biya feels that if we are against the government, they mix it up that we are against the state. I am against the regime of Mr. Biya. I am not against the state of Cameroon. That's a glaring message that I am passing to the system, that we are for the country and want the country to move ahead, and for all citizens to feel as Cameroonians, not for some individuals who feels that the country belongs to them.
The country belongs to all Cameroonians, and of course the head of state has said on several occasions that he's been working to put an end. He wants to put an end to the troubles in the northwest and southwest regions, but President Njang Dennis thinks that he does not want to put an end to it. I don't know why you think so.
No, I don't. No, Mr. Babila, you are mistaken. I am saying that the manner in which the regime is putting things in place in resolving this crisis, I believe that they have a hidden agenda. They don't want the crisis to come to an end, because I think that we of the opposition, other stakeholders of the civil society, we have given proposals. There is a need for a sincere dialogue. Release what is difficult to release. What is the essence of saying you are giving pardon to those who have picked up guns, and then the same people that you are accusing of encouraging those to carry guns, you are locking them up? Don't you see that there is a double standard somewhere?
Thank you, Dennis.
The regime of Biya, they are not willing to really resolve this problem, and I think that there is a high time that we Cameroonians, we need to take over our responsibility. And I think that under the Biya regime, the Anglophone crisis can never be resolved, and that's why the PAP says Mr. Biya needs to resign.
National President of the PAP, the Popular Action Party, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.